Hey there, I'm Kelsey, and today I'm going to show you how to make a layered cake topper in both Silhouette and Cricut Design Space. So first, we're here in Cricut Design Space, and I'm going to pick one of the shapes, and of course a heart because we're making this heart layered cake topper. I'm going to drag it until it's about 4 inches wide, and then for the purpose of sorting all of these papers, because we're making our cake topper out of paper, onto mats together with like colors, I'm going to change all the colors as we go. So if you click offset on that top toolbar, you can drag it. I'm just going to make a small offset and change the color on this one. And then from that, I'm going to do another offset, this time a little bit bigger. Change the color to that one. And I'm going to right click on that bigger heart over in the layers and duplicate it. Or you can copy and paste, whichever one you prefer. But I'm gonna do 2 of these so I can sandwich the stick in between the back layer. Next, let's add some text. So over on the left side, we have the text bar. And we're gonna type out just some wording to go on our heart. You can do whatever you would like. I'm gonna do "Be Mine." I want more of a scripty font, so I'm going to pick from my system fonts, which are the ones that are already on my computer. I don't have to pay for them through Cricut. And I like this font here. I'm going to right click on it. And I'm going to weld this together where the I and the N and the E meet. I don't want it to cut each of those pieces out separately. So if you zoom in, you can see that once you weld it, anything that is touching now basically becomes one welded together shape. So if you click and drag across the entire font, you can add an offset to this as well. I'm just going to do a lower offset, but one that will just be one piece. So I don't want to make it so small that it's 2 separate pieces of paper. I just want it to be one. So change the color on this. And then one last offset. We've done a bunch of different offsets here, and we've also used the colors so that when we go to make it, it's going to put all of the pieces that are the same color on a mat. And then, so there'll be a red mat, there'll be a pink mat, and it'll tell you when to load and unload and put your different piece of paper or whatever material you're using. So just for visual purposes, it's going to be layered just like this. We have 6 layers here. And one of the layers at least I'm going to use, I'm thinking the "Be Mine" text, I'm going to use gold glitter cardstock. So up above right now, I'm adding a link if you would like to learn how to cut cardstock. Sometimes it can be kind of tricky. I have a link for cutting cardstock and the tricks and tips that I have for it. All right, so if you are using a Silhouette machine, now we are starting the Silhouette portion of this tutorial. So if you're not using a Silhouette, I want you to skip to about the 10-minute mark. And at that point, I will have everything printed out, cut out, and we will be layering it. So if you're using a Cricut, skip to the 10-minute mark. So with Silhouette Studio, unlike Cricut, we don't have a heart shape to choose from. So one of the things I'm going to do is go to my library, because when you get a Silhouette machine, sometimes they give you some free cut files, or maybe over the years I've uploaded something with a heart. So I'm going to look through the designs that I've received from Silhouette, and I'm going to see if anything in here has a heart. More than likely you've received something that has a heart. Oh, perfect. I love you. So this one has a heart. So what we're going to do is double click on that. It's going to add it to our mat. And from here, we can ungroup this entire piece, "I love you." We can select the parts we don't want to use and delete them. And then we can size our heart. Again, I'm going to do about 4 inches wide. To make it easier for you to see, I'm getting rid of this grid view. I usually like to use it because I can see like I have 1, 2, 3, 4 inches or whatever, but for the purpose of this video, I want it to be easy to follow. And also I am going to be doing colors so we can visually see how these layers are going to go together. What's going to be in front, what's going to be in back. On the right hand side is the offset tool. So with that heart selected, and then you're going to click offset, and you can drag the little bar underneath to make that offset bigger or smaller. We're just going to do a small offset on this heart. Change it to a different color so we can see for layering purposes. And then with that heart still selected, let's do another offset, but a little bigger this time for the very back layer. All right, and we're going to copy and paste that back layer. And what you're gonna see here with the offset of this shape is that for some reason it's hollow. So when you move that top heart off, we have like some hollow shapes. And we don't want that because we want full shapes that we can add our tape and stuff to. So what you're gonna do is get the little point selector. It's on the left-hand side, the second one down right underneath the arrow. And we're gonna select the inside point of the heart and then just start pressing delete continuously until the entire inside of that heart is deleted. And now we have a full heart. And we'll just repeat that step on the other two hearts as well. Sometimes it's just easier to delete, copy, and paste when you have to press delete that many times, but you get the point. So double check if you're doing an offset and you're trying to layer things that doesn't happen to you. And now we're gonna add the text. So with the text tool selected, I typed out Be Mine, and I'm picking the font that I wanna use. I'm gonna use something with a script to it so I can weld it together. That just means that there will be less pieces in the end. I am going to have to pay attention to this one with that little dot on the I for Be Mine. I might even replace that with something else because I find that little pieces like that tend to get lost in the mix. So we'll see how we fare in the end. So if you right click on this or click select everything and then right click, you're going to choose weld. And that welds everything into one piece where anything is touching. So where like the I and the N and the E were overlapping, that welds it to one full shape. But we're gonna click and select again, and then the offset tool, and just do a slight offset. And now that's going to be just one piece of offset. So you can see there's all the little pieces of the Be Mine, the B, the Mine, and the dot on the I. But with the outer offset selected, let's do a second offset. Trying to resize it to be about the size of that small or that big heart, maybe a tad bit bigger. And again, we can't see because in Silhouette, a lot of the layers are transparent unless you give them a color. I think in Cricut, the difference would be that a lot of the shapes and text are a solid white or black already as soon as you put them on the mat, but not with Silhouette. With some color selected, now you can see that there's the 6 layers, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut the video, cut everything out, and then we'll be back and we're gonna piece everything together. All right, so I have all my pieces cut out, all my paper is cut out, and I've got this, I did do the glitter gold, so it was kind of a pain to cut out. I may have wasted some because I didn't have my blade cutting deep enough. Honestly, I think it's time to replace the blade. But now we are ready to layer this all together. So what I'm gonna do is layer the gold glitter onto this pink first, because for most of it I'm gonna be using like a raised foam tape, but for this part I'm not gonna have it raised because those letters are just too skinny. So I have this little, it's almost like a whiteout tool, but it's tape. And it's double-sided, and I'm just gonna run that across there. A lot of it is going onto my scrap piece of white paper underneath. So make sure whatever you use it on is something you can get rid of. If you do it on your counters will be sticky for quite a while. And then that just sticks right on there. So we're gonna repeat that with the word B. And then after we get this put on, and I did tear the E off the B, but once I put it all together, you're never even gonna notice. And I do have a completed layered heart to the left, so you can see the look that we're going for and the way we're gonna layer this all together. All right, so I did lose the little dot to the eye, so I'm pulling out these rhinestones real quick. I have these from when I was rhinestoning different things, and so this little gold one's gonna be perfect. I'm just gonna use a small dot of glue right there, and then with my finger, I'm just placing it right on the glue dot I made. So I can set this piece off to the side to let it dry, or so while that kind of dries, the next thing I'm gonna do is I have this acrylic cake stick, I guess you'll call it. I don't know. I did this really quick on my Glowforge, but I used clear acrylic and just cut out this little stir stick shape. If you don't have a Glowforge or an acrylic piece, you can also go to somewhere like Hobby Lobby or Michael's, your local craft store, and maybe even Walmart. They have like coffee wooden stir sticks, and those work great for cake toppers. I've used them for years until now I have the Glowforge. So with a little hot glue on both sides of this, I'm just gonna stick one side down onto the very back piece of paper and sandwich it in between the other. So that's why we doubled that back heart. So there is kind of like a little wand, the cake topper piece, and now from there we can continue to layer. All right, so let's get going. Back to the wording. We are going to put some tiny pieces. We have to cut these really tiny, this double-sided foam tape, to fit on the back of some of these letters. So find the widest parts, maybe where letters meet, or like the B is pretty big, where the I and the N meet, things like that. And you're just gonna put tiny little pieces of the foam tape. You do wanna spread it out from the beginning of the word to the end. Otherwise, it kind of looks, it'll kind of cave in, so it won't look even, and so we don't want that. And then you're left with this perfect fit. So you're just gonna lay that right on there, just gently touching where you placed your foam tape. And the next one's gonna be a lot easier because we're just gonna flip it over and add a whole long strip to that light pink. But we'll wait to do that until we layer the red and the gold and then put that onto the backing. That way we don't have to layer the hearts with the font or the text on there. So for this, I'm just, again, gonna use some bigger strips. Make sure I put a couple little small pieces by the top humps on the heart. And I'll repeat this on the gold heart as well. And finally, time to layer this last piece on there, and we will have 6 layers, not counting that back piece, so really 7 layers. We have the cake topper stick, and this is going to be so perfect. You can make a smaller version, although I'd be careful with what font you use. This would be great in a cake, and that's exactly what I plan to do with it, is put it in a cake. Ta-da! Totally cake worthy. I couldn't love these toppers more, and It was so simple to create this design with the offset. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please give it a thumbs up below, and we'll see you next time.